Dear friends, this is episode number 42 of the Limitation Act. We were dealing with section 17 and I cited one decision of the Supreme Court. Now we will go to the rest of the decisions under section 17 and then thereafter we will go to section 18. Now just decisions. 1998 to Kerala Law Times, KLT 1078. Also in KHC 1998 KHC 510. Thomas versus Devasi. There it was for setting aside sale under Rule 90 of Order 21. You are aware that a sale can be set aside and a court auction sale can be set aside under Rule 90 of Order 21 on the ground of material irregularity in publishing and conducting the sale. Material irregularity and fraud. Fraud comes in there also. So this is one decision with respect to that. And there, question of limitation does not arise when the judgmentator had no knowledge of fraud. You may see paragraph 9, 10 and 11. I will read very few sentences from these paragraphs. Para 9. Thus it can be seen that a wide disparity between the value stated in the proclamation schedule and the real value of the property. The valuation shown is rupees 2,500 while the actual value comes to rupees 7,36,000. This will shock the conscience of any court. No person should be allowed to take advantage of such things. This is what is held. Faced with this situation, so and so, it was contended that the property was delivered over in execution and the period of 60 days is over, and it was submitted that the period of limitation is over. But the petitioners therein, they included section 17 also in the application where fraud is there. Para 11, last sentence, I also hold that fraud has been committed by the decree holder in conducting the sale. In such situation, I am of the view that the question of limitation does not arise. It was also held that no notice was served on the judgmentator with respect to the proclamation and the sale without knowledge, without his knowledge, sale was without his knowledge. So far as delivery proceedings are concerned, from the records it appears that notice was not personally served. In these circumstances, I hold that fraud has been committed by the decree holder in conducting the sale. In such a situation, I am of the view that the question of limitation does not arise, and various decisions were followed. A division bench of this court held, following the decision of the Supreme Court, that even if a contention was not raised by the petitioner in a petition under Order 21 Rule 90, that he came to know of the irregularity or fraud at a later stage. No such contention taken. Even if no such contention is taken, if any material irregularity or fraud has been committed, it is the duty of the court to step in and remove the irregularity or fraud. This is what the Supreme Court said, and following that Supreme Court judgment, the Kerala High Court held that was also followed in that judgment, and that is a view. And the sale was accordingly set aside. Another decision, 1994 1 Kerala Law Journal 843, same as 1994 KHC 232, Karthieni Amma versus Sudha Sundaran. Section 17 was considered, and it was held that a person desiring to invoke the aid of section must establish three things. Section 17. 1. That there has been a fraud that by means of such fraud he was kept out from the knowledge of his right to sue or apply or of the title on which the right is founded. And 3. Time will be extended under the section only as against a person guilty of fraud or who is accessory thereto or who claims through the person guilty of fraud, otherwise than in good faith and for valuable consideration. We have seen that under the proviso to section 17, bona fide transactions have been accepted. They are protected, but there are certain conditions. 3 clauses are there in the proviso to section 17, but certain conditions are to be satisfied. And then in the same decision, the proviso says that even if the period of limitation is liable to be extended on establishing fraud, nothing in this section shall enable any suit to be instituted to set aside any transaction affecting any property which has been purchased for valuable consideration by a person who was not aware of the fraud, not a party to the fraud. Even if there is a fraud on the part of the auction purchaser and the decree holder, the claim to set aside the sale is not sustainable by virtue of the proviso. In that case, it was held so. Next is 1986 Kerala Law Times 351, same as 1986 KHC 84, A.A. Joseph versus Varghese George. There, the defendants did not disclose the fact that they did not. It was an application under Rule 91 of Order 21, where the purchaser says that there was a defect in title or the judgment did not have saleable interest, he had no title. That is a ground. There, a contention was raised that defendants did not disclose the fact that they did not have any saleable interest, whether it is necessary. It is not necessary really. And then whether the mistake which is spoken to in section 17 should be a mutual mistake or a mistake of one party. That was also considered in paragraph 9. I'll read 2 or 3 sentences, 3 or 4 sentences. Learned counsel for the judgment submitted that the mistake must be a mutual mistake as required in section 20 and 21 of the Indian Contract Act. According to the learned counsel, if the mistake is that of the decree holder, he will not be entitled to exclude any period and make the judgment liable. There is no indication in section 17 of the Limitation Act warranting such a restricted meaning to the word mistake. In clause A of subsection 1 of section 17, it is specifically provided that fraud must be of the defendant or respondent or his agent. In clause C, there is no such restriction, the words used being only the suit or application for relief from the consequence of a mistake. Therefore, if the court is satisfied that there is a mistake in the court sale and the decree holder could not have discovered with reasonable diligence the mistake, the decree holder is entitled to exclude the period till he discovers the mistake. The burden is on the decree holder to prove the mistake in the first instance. Thereupon, it will be for the judgmentor to show that the decree holder had either actually discovered the mistake or could have done so with reasonable diligence. Next, 1981 Kerala Law Times 120, same as 1981 KHC 88, Sati Devi versus Ramalingam Pillai. Sati Devi versus Ramalingam Pillai. Where ignorance or want of knowledge is occasioned by fraud on the part of the person against whom the right is enforced, then there is a postponement of the running of the period of limitation under section 17. You may read paragraph 3 I will read only one or two sentences, 3 or 4 sentences. Ordinarily, ignorance about the existence of a right is not a ground for postponing the starting point of limitation for enforcement of the right. To hold otherwise will in most cases have the effect of casting the burden on the opposite party to prove that the claimant had knowledge. It is not his duty. Lack of knowledge, it is for him to prove, the person who alleges. It is only in cases falling under section 17 of the Act, namely where the ignorance or want of knowledge is occasioned by fraud on the part of the person against whom the right is enforced, that there is a postponement of running of the period of limitation. Section 17 governs not only suits but also applications. When there is a specific provision in the Act itself dealing with the extension of limitation, in cases where the party is kept ignorant of the right, it may not be open to the court to extend the period of limitation by invoking the general provision under section 5 of the Act. That was also held. Now, I set about Order 21, Rule 90. There the fraud is there. The commentaries, Sarkar, Law of Civil Procedure, I will read 2 or 3 sentences. Fraud is not confined to fraud committed at the inception of the cause of action. It can be even thereafter. Charges of fraud and collusion must be proved by established facts or inferences legitimately drawn from these facts. Suspicions and surmises and conjectures are not permissible substitutes for those facts and inferences, but that by no means requires that every puzzling artifice or contrivance resorted to by one accused of fraud must necessarily be completely unravelled and cleared up and made plain. If this were not so, many a clever and dexterous knave would escape. See the decision which is referred to, Satish versus so and so, 28 Calcutta Weekly Notes, that is 1923, 19 AER 1923, Privy Council 73. It is not a substitute, surmises, conjectures, suspicion, all these things is not a substitute for proof of fraud. It must be proved, the facts must be proved with necessary inferences are possible from the proved or admitted facts. That is what is said. But that by no means requires that every puzzling artifice or contrivance resorted to by one accused of fraud must necessarily be completely unravelled and cleared up. If that is a standard, many persons who committed the fraud would escape from the result of fraud. That was also cautioned by the Privy Council in Satish's case in 1923. See, the year 1923, how many years? These principles were never changed. These are all the principles even now. Then the difference between an innocent purchaser and one guilty of fraud, all those things, there are decisions, old decisions. In setting aside a sale, it is not necessary to prove that the auction purchaser was also a party to the fraud. Fraud must be there, but it is not necessary that both the judgmentator as well as the auction purchaser had committed the fraud, or decree holder and the auction purchaser had committed the fraud. Both it is not necessary. Then a Supreme Court judgment. 2011 12 SEC 243. 2011 12 SEC 243. Commissioner of Central Excise, Mumbai versus Messrs. Calvert, Kalvert, Calvert Foods India Private Limited. That was under the Central Excise Act. It was held that the period should be computed from the date of clandestine removal of goods, stroke evasion of excise duty comes to the knowledge of the raiding parties. Para 27. In view of the aforesaid position, this is a conclusion. In view of the aforesaid position, and since there was clandestine removal of excisable goods, the period of limitation in the present case would have to be computed from the date of their knowledge arrived at upon raids on the premises. In the present case, therefore, the extended period of limitation would be available as there was suppression of facts by the respondents with the intention to evade the central excise duty, inasmuch as they did not account for the manufactured goods in the prescribed record. This is what is held from the date of knowledge. Then next, ILR 1993. ILR 1993, 3 Kerala, 373, same as 1993 Kerala High Court cases, KHC 545. South India Corporation Private Limited versus Assistant Commissioner, Assessment and others. Refund of tax, Article 226, Section 17, all considered. Para 8, last, I will read 2 sentences. Ordinarily, the courts will entertain such petitions only if they are made within the period prescribed in the Limitation Act 1963 for a suit for the same relief, that is within the period of 3 years from the date on which the assessee discovers the mistake or could with reasonable diligence have discovered the mistake. But that is not an inflexible rule. Normally the period provided for suits under the Limitation Act will be the rule, but that is not an inflexible rule. Then another decision, AER 1995, Madras 372, 1995 KHC 2139, Justice Swami Durai. Why I cited this Madras decision is that the facts are unique. Pechiyammal, yes, versus N. Jnanasundaram Nadar. Jnanasundaram, G-N-A-N-A, Sundaram Nadar. There, execution petition for recovery of the mortgage amount. Then the judgment letter pending that, I will give the dates also. Paragraph 2, facts are stated. EP number so and so was filed in OS number so and so for realizing the decree amount in the suit for recovery of mortgage amount. Final decree was passed on 7/11/73. Meanwhile, the judgment letter filed a suit, OS number 3331, etc., for partition in respect of the properties. A suit based on mortgage, a suit for recovery of the mortgage amount, decree was passed, final decree was passed. But the judgment letter filed a suit for partition in respect of these properties, including the mortgage property. And a decree was passed in the partition suit. The other party was not made a party. Because it is not necessary, ordinarily only the sharers need be made parties. The mortgagee who got the decree was not made a party. It is a case of the petitioner hearing that the decree in that subsequent suit was passed ex parte without his knowledge. On coming to know of the same, The mortgagee, that is a person who obtained the money decree and the mortgage decree, filed a suit for setting aside the ex parte decree, which the judgment letter obtained. It was decreed after contest. The present execution petition was filed after that decree. The question arose, that was out of time. Question arose whether the time spent for getting this decree set aside, that is a later suit OS number 331 of 75, the time during which it was pending should be excluded. The Madras High Court held that it should be. I am of opinion that there was fraud committed by the respondent herein, which prevented the petitioner from filing the execution petition and realizing the decree amount within a period of 12 years. Therefore, the time taken for setting aside the decree in OS number 331 has to be excluded. The decree in so and so was passed and the said decree was set aside on so and so. If that period is excluded, then the decree made is within the period of 12 years. That is what is held by the Madras High Court. I did not see much decisions on the same set of circumstances. Therefore, I thought that I will place before you. Next is 1974 KLT, Kerala Law Times 244. KHC citation 1974 KHC 72, Division Bench. Refund of sales tax. Starting point of limitation. If the applicant could have discovered the mistake with reasonable diligence, that is sufficient to start the running of period against him. Para 3. The provision is clear that the applicant could have discovered the mistake with reasonable diligence. That is sufficient to start the running of time against him. We have no doubt that after the pronouncement in Johar and Company's case, 16 STC 213, reasonable diligence should have told the petitioner that the fate of similar, if not identical, provision of the Kerala Act could not be in any doubt. The next is AER 2001 Supreme Court 2763, 2001 7 SCC, 2001 7 SCC 549. 3 judges, Pallav Seth versus Custodian and others. It was a contempt proceeding, period of limitation for contempt, etc. I will read 2 or 3 sentences from paragraph 47 and 48. These provisions embody fundamental principles of justice and equity. That is 17, various provisions, 17. These provisions embody fundamental principles of justice and equity. Namely, that the party should not be penalized for failing to adopt legal proceedings when the facts or material necessary for him to do so have been willfully concealed from him, and also that a party who has acted fraudulently should not gain the benefit of limitation running in his favor by virtue of such fraud. See the principle. That a party should not be penalized for failing to adopt legal proceedings when the facts or material necessary for him to do so have been willfully concealed from him. He cannot be penalized. 2. A party who has acted fraudulently should not gain the benefit of limitation running in his favor by virtue of such fraud. He having committed the fraud, he cannot be heard to say that the limitation is over if the other ingredients of section 17 are satisfied. The person who committed the fraud cannot be allowed to escape from the liability, citing the period of limitation and stating that the time has run out and therefore the proceeding will not lie. He cannot escape from it. The court has wide powers to reach at, to get at the fraudulent acts, to get at the person who committed the fraud and make him disgorge the benefit and thereby do justice to the party who suffered the fraud. Not only the period of limitation, but still the powers are there. Very many powers are there. Particularly when it comes to the High Court and Supreme Court, powers are unlimited. Supreme Court, unlimited powers are there. But it is only self-restraint and it is their own limits they have prescribed. That's all. Now we will meet in the next episode. Thank you.